You want twice as that.
So I think
I'll check my
you
one.
too.
Keep track of the
So that counts.
Did you tell Alderman McDonald?
Call meeting order. Well, please rise. I ask that you join me in a moment of reflection on the business that's before us this evening. Please join me in a pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, please take the roll.
Alderman Basso.
Here.
Alderman Violet.
Here.
Alderman Clifford.
Here.
Alderman Key. Here. Alderman Kramarski.
Here.
Alderman Lewandowski.
Here.
Alderman McGrogan.
Here.
Alderman McGovern.
Here.
Mayor, City Clerk, Treasurer, and Attorney are all present.
All right. No special presentations tonight, but under the consent calendar, we've got 4 items. The approval of the City Council minutes from October 15, 2019. The approval of the payroll and voucher list from the period ending November 1st, 2019. And approval for requests from the Girl Scouts of Greater Chicago and Northwest Indiana to allow door-to-door solicitations for cookie sales during the month of January 2020. And the approval of a proclamation for Veterans Day, which will be held on November 11th, 2019, which I'll read at the ceremony that day. With that, I'll entertain a motion. By Alderman McGrogan. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Clifford. Any discussion? Roll call.
Alderman Violet.
Yes.
Alderman Clifford.
Yes.
Alderman Kramarski.
Yes.
Alderman Basso.
Aye.
Alderman Lewandowski.
Aye.
Alderman Key.
Yes.
Alderman McGrogan.
Yes.
Alderman McGovern.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Carries. Okay. Under my remarks, a couple things. We are now entering the Veterans Day season, shall we say. We've got a number of festivities and such throughout the town just to honor the people who fought for our country and served over the years. Starting Thursday at 9 o'clock at the Orchard Room in the Rec Center will be a breakfast for all veterans that are invited to come, and anyone here would also like to come, please feel free to do that. On Thursday, I'll be at Palos South for an assembly at 8:30 Friday morning. And then Monday at 9 o'clock, I'll also be at another Independence at a ceremony presentation that goes on in the junior high school. Both junior high schools historically have always given a great presentation honoring the veterans. Many cases, their fathers or grandfathers show up, and their grandparents could be women too, obviously. And then 11 o'clock, we'll be having our annual Veterans Day program. We're going to have it indoors. It's either going to be inside here or at the Orchard Room if that's available. So keep look for we'll have it on both the message centers and on the TV. So keep vigil as far as where it will actually be. It's supposed to be the coldest day of the year so far, this season so far on Monday. So we decided to move it indoors. And then right after that is at the library. There's also a little program that will be going on. One thing I like to, last meeting we had the Mayor for a Day program, and historically, in the 19 years I've been in office, people, some of the students talk about the one thing they like to have would be streetlights or sidewalks, okay? And if you remember at the last meeting, Mary Ann Orr, who happened to be the chairman of the Mayor for a Day program, asked why we don't have sidewalks. So I said, well, that's a valid question. Maybe we should find out what it would cost to put sidewalks in front of some of the houses in Palos Heights. So I asked our engineering firm to just give us a ballpark figure as far as what it would cost to do sidewalks in front of various homes in Palos Heights. So I said, why don't you take my block? I've got 10 homes on my block. I live on 119th Place, for those who don't know. It's 2 blocks long, but my specific block. And they came up with an estimate as far as what the cost per household would be, or per house would be for to put sidewalks. And as you know, in the old section, we've got surface drainage, so which means we have to put sewers in besides the sidewalks to accommodate with curbs and gutters. Just to give you an example, for the 10 houses on my block, the cost would be $985,000, which means that every individual would have to pay approximately $98,000 to put sidewalks in front of their homes. So I kind of think that would be a showstopper right there, but I just thought it'd be, it should give you an idea what it would cost to put sidewalks throughout the town if we decided at different points to do that. So you take $100,000 plus times the number of homes in town, it's a pretty big dollar amount. So just try to get some idea of what it would cost. So something for thought. Not a lot of thought, though, okay? Okay, also need a motion to approve an ordinance for the vacation and sale of a portion of 126th Street right-of-way between 69th Court and 70th Avenue.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Violet, second by Alderman McKee. Discussion, roll call.
Alderman Lewandowski.
Aye.
Alderman McGrogan.
Yes.
Alderman Key.
Yes.
Alderman Violet.
Yes.
Alderman Kromarski.
Yes.
Alderman Basso.
Aye.
Alderman McGovern.
Yes.
Alderman Clifford.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, City Clerk,
No
anything
report.
today? How about City Treasurer?
Thank you, no report.
City Treasurer?
Thank you, no report.
Okay, any communications? Does anyone have to?
Yes.
Alderman Violet?
I'd like to point out that we have a fairly large contingency of Shepherd
I noticed that today.
AP government students with us today. And their teacher, Ms. Myron, is also here. She's a Third Ward resident, and I believe this might be your first meeting.
Yes.
So we welcome all of you.
It's a very good project. They get to learn see government in action, and as you do too, yeah, see?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to say thank you to the Lions Club for the evening they put together with the police and fire department, our first responders from Palos Heights, Palos Hills, and Palos Park. I believe they had almost 200 people in attendance, and each one of our local police departments and fire departments were given an award for the Outstanding Police Officer of the Year. And I really, with that, I'd also like to congratulate Detective Jan Permitsky from our police department for it, receiving the award. I think it was an outstanding event. I think it's the first time they've ever done it, Jack, am I right?
Yeah,
This is a beginning, and I would hope that, it would continue for a long time to come.
I agree with you totally.
just being a member of the Palos Lions Club for the past 20-some-odd years, a little history on this event was it was our 70th anniversary in the Palos Heights, Palos Park, Palos Hills area. With that, we concluded that of not just having that ceremony celebrating our 70th year of service to the people of the Palos areas, but also to do something a little extra. And we took the idea from Oak Lawn, who's been doing that for many years, of honoring our first responders through police and fire department and through their actions to the community. And that's where that came from. Our committee and board member put that together. It was held at Palos Country Club. We had over 230 people attend, and all the police and fire department. And to all those that supported it, came to it, bought a ticket to it, on behalf of the Palos Lions, I would like to say thank you, and thank you very much. And we do appreciate your support and ongoing help. Thank you.
Great idea, Jack. Thank you. Any other communications? Citizens wishing to address the council tonight, anyone? Yes, ma'am? Your name and address, too?
Trudy Erickson, 12401 South 69th Avenue. I've lived there 25 years. For the last 10 years, I've lived there alone. It's a small one-bathroom house, and you'll understand why I say that. I've tried all other avenues, and so I was told I had to come here, so I apologize for taking up your time.
That's what we're here for.
But I am disputing the billing of 117,000 gallons of water over last winter, 1 quarter. Patrick from the water department came to my home, informed me of the meter reading, suggested that I had to have a leak there. The reading was done remotely. The meter was not personally inspected, and for far as I know, no inspection was done of my home or property to identify any evidence of a leak. I also carefully inspected my home, and there was clearly no way that 117,000 gallons of water was floating around on the frozen ground. I didn't have an ice rink or a swimming pool or anything else. So Patrick came back and told me to turn everything off, and he would do another reading, and the reading came up 0, so there was no leak. He came back a couple of weeks later and checked my meter again with the remote, and it was my normal approximately 4,000 gallons a quarter. I also have a crawl space, and the crawl space is lined with plastic and foam. There was no residue of dripping pipes in my crawl space. So I have to keep asking, where did 112,000 gallons of water possibly go? I had to figure this out. The volume of 112,000 gallons is, it would take a swimming pool 30 by 50 feet by 10 feet deep to hold that amount of water. The volume of my house isn't even that big, so I'd have been drowning if it had been leaking in my house. Several discussions were had with the water department and committee. Possible ideas were, I leave my water dripping very slightly when we're in a deep freeze. And they thought maybe that was the 100,000 gallons, but I've done that every year for as long as I can remember. So I measured. It's 3 gallons an hour, so 8 hours a night. For 3 weeks or more, that's only 500 gallons. A leaking coffee maker or my ice maker, I would have noticed that flooding my kitchen for 100,000 gallons. A running toilet uses 200 gallons a day. Even if it had been running all 90 days of the quarter, nowhere near. The leaking toilet, I did the food coloring test. No leaks in my toilet. The outdoor hose connector, well, it shut off under my deck and through into the crawl space. Nobody could get at it, but it was suggested that maybe someone had been stealing my water to fill up their swimming pools in January. So, again, I have to ask, where did 112,000 gallons of water go? I felt it should be the city's responsibility to show me proof of the water loss, other than just one remote meter reading. But it's got to be a faulty meter. After that one glitch, my meter has been running fine. The last 2 quarters have been 3,000 gallons and 4,000 gallons. That was suggested that I pay to have my meter taken out and tested by a third party, but I called and spoke with the gentleman from Core in Maine, who is the distributor to Palos Heights of the Census SR. Chad Capps agreed that a defect in that particular meter would probably not show up in that model, since it now seems to be working perfectly fine. Chad also admitted that there can be glitches. I've learned more about water meters than I ever cared to learn. It's the brush mechanism, and it's called spinning. And it usually happens if a water meter is over 7 years old, but it could very possibly, and particularly with the deep freeze thaw cycle that we had during the polar vortex, that could have been a problem. So the Water Committee still wanted more evidence. I called Chad back and asked him if he would put these comments in writing and give me a history of the Census SR, but of course he did not respond. So I did some more research and found numerous water failures online. Of course, we've all heard about our neighbors Tinley Park. That's not a Census SR, but Aurora, DeKalb County, West Point, and a number of others have all involved census meters, up to 50,000 meters in one community. And Census has admitted to the press of manufacturing issues. I believe they were around 2012 and again 2015 to 2016. So, in conclusion, I've continued to pay my regular senior discount water and sewer bill of $142 for the minimum usage of 12,000 gallons. Given that I use only a quarter of that, over the past 6 years, I've already paid for 170,000 gallons of water that I've never used, have never gone through my meter. And that's just the past 6 years. So I ask you, please don't turn off my water tomorrow. There's been a notice pinned to my door. And I ask you to credit my account for the $903 for this mysterious loss of over 100,000 gallons that nobody can tell me where it has gone. Thank you. I have numerous copies of the documentation, some photographs, some newspaper articles. Mr. Strauss.
Sure.
Nice presentation.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Reedy. Thanks.
Ms. Erickson has appeared before the Water and Sewer Committee, and one alderman on the committee recommended that Ms. Erickson attend a full city council meeting and make this presentation. We should point out that this particular bill is pretty old. I mean, it's from last winter, which was an extremely cold winter. This is not a recent bill. Ms. Erickson appeared before the Water and Sewer Committee months ago. I can't remember what month, but we're going back quite a few months. Our process when a resident claims a faulty meter or suggests that there might be a faulty meter is to take the meter, which our Public Works Director offered to do, and inspect it. If the meter is found to be faulty, it will be replaced at our cost, and we'll make some consideration, obviously, on the bill. If the meter is not found to be faulty, the meter still needs to be replaced. It would be replaced at the cost of the resident, and the bill, of course, remains outstanding. Now, that's been our long-standing policy, and that offer was made by our Public Works Director to Ms. Erickson, who did not want to have the meter removed and tested because she claims that since this occurrence, the meter started working correctly. We can't make a determination regarding the causation here, especially involving the meter, if we don't get the meter and look at it. And I think our policy is quite fair. Of course, it's possible that a meter could be faulty, but we can't tell that unless we look at it. And a third party, which is the company, a manufacturer, is the party who would look at it. I'm not sure what our action is here, other than refer it back to the committee. Alderman McGrogan, you kind of suggested that Ms. Erickson appear here.
Well, I agree. I mean, first of all, I think we should refer it back to committee. I think myself and some other aldermen, we've had discussions about what we should do with water. I was at an event the other night for the McCord House. I had people coming up that are residents who watched the show. They said, geez, you guys have some good ideas. Why don't you implement some of them? And so I think we do have to revisit the whole water thing. And in the 18 or 19 years that I've been on that committee, there's situations like this that come up almost every couple of years where people have issues where all of a sudden the water went like 100,000, 50,000, huge amounts of water go missing. So it's and as you pointed out, Alderman, I'm not arguing with you, I'm agreeing. You've said some solutions. I do think in her remarks, if I was listening correctly, that she said that there's like
since the meter's working now, if she sent it back in, they're probably gonna say it's working fine. You know, so I think that it's almost like the cat left the barn, there was a problem, and now it's fixed. And so it really wouldn't do a lot of good if she said, like lately, over the last year, that the water meter's been running fine. I mean, I think I've suggested this before. I think what we should do is create some type of a hardship fund that we get. We all know, she just pointed it out, that it's the same thing that some of these attendees at this event I went to pointed out to me. Single, widows, divorced, that whole group, and they were saying, we hardly use any water. We pay for a minimum. So we're building up a surplus. We all know that. We have plenty of money in the fund. I'm the head of the finance committee. We could go over it. Jim's the treasurer. If he gives a finance report, we're in good shape. I think that what we should do is, in cases like this, come up with some type of a solution where we work with the resident, or we come up with a maximum bill. The other thing I tried to find out, and I don't remember if we had an answer, is back, let's say if this occurred in January of 2019, did our water usage go up for the city by an alarming amount? You know, in other words, you know, like if it was normal, like if we went through and everybody's home, we have 5,000 people, we went through, did the financial analysis and said, how many gallons did we use? And then we know exactly how many we're being billed for because we buy the water from ALSA. So we could see, maybe the meter was off by 100,000. Maybe it spun an extra, you know, like 100,000. I don't know, I'm not an engineer. But, I mean, here's the only thing I could say, is if this was anybody in this room, and we really, really felt that we didn't use that 100,000 gallons, I think I always put myself in the people's shoes to say, how would you feel? And I think that, you know, she's pointed out, done some research, checked her crawl space, checked this, did the drip test, did the toilet test, all these things. That's a lot of water, 100,000. I mean, none of us use 100,000 in a year, even though we're paying for like 120,000. So I mean, I told her to come in because we're only 4 people on the committee. There's 8 of us here, plus the mayor and the executive group here. So maybe, you know, there's some other ideas. Maybe we don't have all the ideas on the 4 people. That's why I asked her to come in, or suggested that she come
Well,
in.
I think you've got a lot of valid questions, and I think you did a lot of research to come up with some, you know.
I did, and I wanted to comment. I was perfectly willing to have the city take out the meter and have it tested, but I didn't feel like I had to pay for it. And when I did the research and checked with the manufacturer, they are the ones who told me with that particular type of meter, there would be no way to tell at what point the 100,000 gallons went through it. And I waited for a couple of reasons. To get a history that the meter is working accurately again, 3,000 gallons, 4,000 gallons. But I didn't want to use the cancer card until you put the note on my window saying you were disconnecting my water. But I haven't been able to come here because I've been in and out of the hospital, doctors, biopsies, treatment. This was not something I felt
understand.
I had the energy to deal with.
Well,
I'm sorry.
I appreciate it. Well, why don't we refer it back to the committee and put a moratorium on stopping her water tomorrow?
Thank you.
at least.
Thank you very
If
much.
could.
Well, the moratorium we could put a moratorium until the next
Yeah,
committee
right,
meeting,
right, I
which will
agree.
be the fourth Tuesday of the month, the fourth Tuesday of November, I guess. Could you make that meeting, Ms. Erickson? The next water and sewer meeting?
I would try,
Oh, okay, it's the fourth Tuesday of the month.
3 weeks from today.
What would I need? What do you need?
Bring all this you've got here.
Bring it again?
Yeah, please. That would-
I'll make
Yeah.
15 copies?
No, make 5 copies, and that'll be enough.
1 month, everything.
And our Public Works Director will be aware that you're coming again, and he'll be prepared to answer any questions that you might have. Maybe he'll have better answers for you this time. which, which we could
Right.
hope
We
for.
can do some research on the meters, too.
Yep, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Maybe what we could do is, if it's possible, if we keep the records going back, go back and do that analysis and see, like, if we use the normal amount of water. I mean, like, maybe there's a way that it would detect that somebody made a mistake. I mean, we all have had bills from various credit card companies and, mortgages and other things, where occasionally there's a mistake, or you read about somebody in the paper that made, a $10 deposit and they gave her
Well,
$10,000.
the gut feeling is that it didn't go through the meter, that much water,
Right.
so. I
That
mean,
seems impossible.
Yeah, right, so,
That's,
okay. Yeah, Jeff.
Alderman Bywett, do you know how much a meter costs?
Not off the top of my head, I don't. However, if the meter was removed and found to be faulty, and if that much water went through it, I mean, and it was faulty, there's no way that you wouldn't be able to tell.
Yeah.
If the meter was found to be faulty, we would, of course, replace it at our cost, and we would make, we would compensate for the bill. However, if the meter is not faulty, the cost of the meter, which is, it's probably a couple $100.
Why don't you discuss it, then we can make a decision after the fact, as far as
Okay.
what the situation
We'll
we've
do
got
that.
at hand,
Mhm.
okay?
it's impossible.
Okay, great. All right, thanks.
And look at
Any other citizens? Standing committees, Finance, Alderman McGrogan?
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Public Safety, Alderman McGovern.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I got a couple of things I'd like to talk about. And the first primary thing we want to talk about tonight is all these thefts that have been going on around the city and our surrounding suburbs. We have this Lock It or Lose It campaign that's been going on. Please, ladies and gentlemen, lock your cars. It's not just in the evening now. It isn't in the daytime. Channel 4 had run a series for 2 weeks on a video of a car pulling up to the side and a guy breaking into the car, opening up the door of an unmarked car and rifling through it and going back to his car and taking off. I timed that. From the time he opened his door until the time he put his foot on the accelerator and left was 20 seconds. That's how long it takes for these people to rifle your car, ladies and gentlemen. If your car is in the driveway, if it's unlocked, if you have a fob and you leave it in the car, be careful, because not only will you rifle your car, they'll take your car, and then they're going to come back, and they're going to go in your garage, and then they're going to take everything out of your garage. Please lock your cars. It's that important. 20 seconds. It takes us 20 seconds to walk from here to out to the front door out here. That's how long it takes. You drive a 2019 car? Well, somebody else will be driving it if you leave the fob in the car and you leave it unlocked, okay? Second thing I want to talk about is, you've seen these new signs we have about here, slow down, okay? You'll see them around the schools. Please, ladies and gentlemen, those are our school kids, slow down when you get around. If you see the school speed, slow the car down, 20 miles an hour. It's not impossible. You're not going to be any much later for where you're going, so please slow the car down during the school speeds, okay? The last thing I want to talk about is something that's coming up in state legislature, and it has to do with the police pensions. Our police pension here in Palos Heights is a very solid police pension. We have no financial problems with our police pension. There are over 650 police departments in the state of Illinois that we call the downstate pension fund, and it is every one of them are all independently run. The state wants to merge those all into one which will mean approximately 25% of the good-funded pension funds will be running 100% of the pensions throughout the state. Your tax money will go to a pension fund somewhere else. Now, this is supposed to be coming up on the veto session of the state legislature coming up this week. And I would like to read to you a resolution from our police pension board about this situation. Whereas the governor has appointed a task force to examine issues related to the possible consolidation of the Illinois Pension Code's Article 3 and 4, downstate police and fire pension funds. Whereas a report from the task force is anticipated to be completed and presented in October 2019. Whereas the possible consolidation of the $14 billion in assets and 35,000 active and retired participants is a complex financial, economic, and operational understanding, and such an understanding should not proceed without proper comprehensive analysis and review by the stakeholders, most notably the asset owners, the representatives of the participating members. Therefore, the Board of Trustees of the Palos Heights Pension Fund hereby request that the Illinois General Assembly not adopt enabling consolidation legislation during the 2019 veto session, and that any consideration of such major undertaking be held over until the 2020 regular session so that it can be discussed at a much more open forum. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, sir. Municipal Grounds and Property, Alderman Basso.
Yes, Mayor, a couple items on the agenda. Item 18, motion to approve payment to Train for the boiler replacement unit in the amount of $22,760.50.
Moved by Alderman Basso.
Second.
Second by Alderman Kromarski. Discussion. Roll call.
Alderman McGrogan.
Yes.
Alderman Key.
Yes.
Alderman Lewandowski.
Aye.
Alderman Basso.
Aye.
Alderman Kromarski.
Yes.
Alderman Violet.
Yes.
Alderman McGovern.
Yes.
Alderman Clifford.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item number 9, motion to approve the purchase of a Groundmaster 4000D mower from Reinders through a state purchasing contract in the amount of $55,554.83.
Moved by Alderman Basso.
Second.
Second by Alderman Kromarski. Discussion. Roll call.
Alderman McGrogan.
Yes.
Alderman Key.
Yes.
Alderman McGovern.
Yes.
Alderman Clifford.
Aye.
Alderman Violet.
Yes.
Alderman Kromarski.
Yes.
Alderman Basso.
Aye.
Alderman Lewandowski.
Aye.
And finally, I would like to remind our residents that because of the weather, Public Works did send out the chipper again this week. Service was supposed to end last week. Unfortunately, cannot tell you if that will happen again, but you'll have to call City Hall or Public Works to find out if the chipper will continue, because they obviously have to get the trucks ready for snow season. So that's the end of my report. Thank you.
You had to remind us about the snow part, right? All right. Planning and zoning, Alderman Clifford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion to adopt the city, motion to adopt the city comprehensive plan.
Second?
Moved by Alderman Clifford, second by Alderman Key. Discussion. Roll call.
Alderman Basso.
Aye.
Alderman Kromarski.
Yes.
Alderman Violet.
Yes.
Alderman Lewandowski.
Aye.
Alderman McGrogan.
Yes.
Alderman Key.
Yes.
Alderman Clifford.
Aye.
Alderman McGovern.
Yes.
Next, motion to direct the city attorney to draft an ordinance for zoning variance to allow an oversized structure, open-air pergola measuring 16 by 16 to be erected in the rear yard lot of the residence located at 12312 75th Avenue.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Basso, second by Alderman, Clifford. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next, motion to direct city attorney to draft an ordinance for special use to allow for a dog grooming salon to operate within the B district,
At least you didn't say
specifically
saloon.
I like
in the commercial, yeah, dogs drink too. Specifically in the commercial shop space located at 13405 South Ridgeon Avenue.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Clifford, second by Alderman McGovern. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That's the end of my report,
All
Mr. Mayor.
right. Alderman Key, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to say thank you to our Parks Director, Matt Fairbanks, and his staff, Lauren, Eric, and Jenna, on the great job they did on the Tetra Truck and Treat event that was in the pool parking lot. When I was driving to the event, I could not believe where people had to park
Right.
to get to the event. There had to be thousands of people there.
They were.
Lots of vehicles were there, lots of kids in their costumes. They were parked in the PBO parking lot and across the street at the medical buildings, and so it was just a really nice event and very well attended.
They made a comment that it's probably the second largest event we have in town next to 4th of July.
Wow.
So that's it was quite an event, I'll tell you
Yep.
that.
And then, while the farmer's market that normally takes place in the municipal parking lot, those are done for the year, our first winter farmer's market is coming up in the orchard room at the rec department, rec building, on the 16th of November, and that's from 8 o'clock in the morning until noon. Normally, the farmer's market is a longer period of time, but it's just from 8 o'clock in the morning till noon. And that concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Alderman Key. Roads and Construction, Alderman Komarski?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, no report.
All right, license, permits, and franchises, Alderman Lewandowski?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, no report.
All right, water and sewer, Alderman Violet?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to approve the sanitary sewer lining project at Potawatomi and Ashnella Drives by Hare Construction Incorporated in the amount of $15,850.
Moved by Alderman Violet, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Lewandowski, discussion, roll call?
Alderman Kromarski.
Yes.
Alderman Violet.
Yes.
Alderman Basso.
Yes.
Alderman Lewandowski.
Aye.
Alderman McGrogan.
Yes.
Alderman Key.
Yes.
Alderman McGovern.
Yes.
Alderman Clifford.
Aye.
Motion carries.
I also move to approve payment to Strand and Associates in the amount of $7,621.44 for engineering services on the Route 83 water reservoir.
Moved by Alderman Violet, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Lewandowski, discussion, roll call?
Alderman McGrogan.
Yes.
Alderman Lewandowski.
Aye.
Alderman Key.
Yes.
Alderman McGovern.
Yes.
Alderman Clifford.
Aye.
Alderman Violet.
Yes.
Alderman Kromarski.
Yes.
Alderman Basso.
Aye.
And finally, I move to approve on-call engineering services for GIS assistance and sanitary sewer system studies to RJN Group for an amount not to exceed $25,000.
Moved by Alderman Violet, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Lewandowski, discussion, roll call?
Alderman Violet.
Yes.
Alderman Basso.
Aye.
Alderman Lewandowski.
Aye.
Alderman Kromarski.
Yes.
Alderman McGrogan.
Yes.
Alderman Key.
Yes.
Alderman McGovern.
Yes.
Alderman Clifford.
Aye.
And that's the end of my report, Mr. Mayor.
Just a point, it seems like they're really going to town on the 127th and 83 sewer line, or water line over there, so
It does seem like it.
probably stay away from there, actually, for a while.
Stay away from that. And we need to get ready to open our pocketbooks.
Right, okay. All right, special committees, Alderman Key?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So even though we're still in early November, holidays in the Heights, all the activities that happen around Christmas are actually happening this month. The day after Thanksgiving will be the Chamber of Commerce tree lighting at Lake Catherine. The next day, which is Saturday, is a Small Business Saturday, so keep all of our small businesses in town in your minds as you start your Christmas shopping. And then the next weekend after that, December 6th and 7th, is the Kris Kringle Market under tent, 75 vendors. We have 5 food vendors, so come out and feed your family and shop for Christmas. Those tents are heated, and we're going to have a trolley that brings you to some remote parking, so you don't have to worry about walking a far distance to come to that market. And then Trinity has a concert, the library has an event on the 7th, the Women's Club has a Christmas walk. There's lots and lots of activities happening, so just keep your eyes open. All on social media, there's notices, and on our website as well. And that concludes my report,
All
Mr.
right,
Mayor.
thank you. Ad hoc cable, Alderman McGovern?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, during the last month, Ron Jankowski has received several requests from Comcast asking for Channel 4 to give studio facility tours and presentations to our operation procedures to the mayor's staff from both Homer Glen and the city of Harvey. In each case, the visiting towns are interested in the startup plan to establish a TV cable station. Each town requested future visits from Channel 4 for guidance and assistance on equipment, technology, and operational structure. Our current Channel 4 status is 186 video shows to date that were originated and produced at our Palos Heights studio, covering city news and other information topics. Don't forget, our TV station runs 24/7, every day. 24/7, 365. It goes nonstop. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Just the fact that we have all these towns coming in and look at what we do shows we're really what we, they think, where Comcast thinks of us as far as in their,
Comcast loves the staff that you have put together here for this TV station. And the progression of this TV station over the years really is a compliment to all them people that are behind that wall back there.
Yeah.
They work tirelessly, and they really do an outstanding job.
and just another show of transparency in government too.
It certainly does. And Ron and Carl are they're just more than willing to turn around and help everybody, anybody that comes in and teach
Right.
them the way.
Great
So-
job. All right. Any old business? Citizens wishing to ask questions? Any new business anyone
Yeah,
have?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
just like to mention something on relation to Veterans Day, if I may. Recently, I just came back from a trip out to Washington DC. And within that trip, I went to Arlington National Cemetery. If you've never been there and never see it, it's awe-inspiring of what's there, of all the veterans that gave the ultimate sacrifice in pursuit of the freedoms that we now enjoy. I was taken, and while visiting the Kennedy graves of Jacqueline and John Kennedy, a couple of buses full of school kids pulled up. They came up and trotted around looking at the memorial, taking it all in and part of history, and you could hear them talk. Gee, I don't remember him, and I don't remember that, but everybody it was from that time, such as me, could say they do remember exactly where they were on the day that happened. But what really got to me was, as I'm looking out over the hills and seeing all the white crosses and the history of it all, and being in the service myself, along with Alderman McGovern, was that one girl walked up to me and she handed me a card and walked away. I had my Marine Corps hat on, and she said, and on the back of it said, "I'd like to thank you for your service and for your time and for providing to me what I know today." And it was signed Sheila McCorden, Charlotte, South Carolina, North Carolina. So I was sort of taken by that the kids are out there like that. But it was a great trip, and it was a great place. So when you do on Veterans Day, keep it in your mind, your hearts about these people. And if you see one, give them a handshake, tell them thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Well said.
This probably falls in the bailiwick of public safety, but the other day on one of the channels, I think it might have been ABC 7, they ran about a 5-minute segment about fires at this time of the year, because we're starting to get into the cold season. And just as like a reminder, say, things that, and they showed a couple of graphic examples of these, electrical shorts, space heaters, fireplace, candles, people running the ovens, ranges, never heard of this one, barbecues and other things. But they also said there's some legislation going on downstate that they're going to start to enact, I think, and maybe be a little bit more specific. I don't have all the data on this because I'm not in that committee, but maybe we could look into it about smoke detectors. And it was pretty interesting. They named off a few communities, and not everyone has smoke detectors at this day and age. And as an example, the best of the best of all the cities and suburbs that they had around Illinois was Naperville. That had an 85% rate, where the people that the town surveyed or somebody surveyed that showed that they did have smoke detectors. Then it went down, like Orland Park was not bad, they were like in a good section, they had like 60%. The city of Chicago, which was at 40%, ironically was opting out somehow of the legislation even. But I was just thinking, when that came up, that might be something that we could look into to just see exactly how we stand because of, I mean, it would probably, most of the pressure would fall in the fire protection district, but it's within the city, and we'd hate to see some people at this time of the year start losing their homes. And maybe we could look into, part of this was some people can't afford them. I think we're pretty fortunate around here to maybe be able to afford smoke detectors. But it wouldn't be bad in case, to remind people occasionally that they better keep an eye on them.
Good point. Especially, you're right, this time of year especially. So, any other new business? All right, I know your students have to have something signed, okay? So before we adjourn, we'll have you, Mr. Cantus here, we'll have you sign the agenda, okay? All right.
My pleasure.
Need a motion to go into executive session for pending litigation under sections 2C11 and discuss personnel under 2C11. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Cantus here, it'd be lovely.
They wanted to take you to reading with us.
All right.